this name will come back later to haunt my players later down the line. I called him Graft the Siege Engine. Reason why he was very influenced by this technology in the world and influenced by this city, very underground black market situations, underground fighting, which again was blown up by his sister. I called her Holiday. If any of my Destiny 2 fans out there, I'm sorry, I had to do it. At the end of the day, he came back and grafted himself to the Lich, taking his power and taking control of him. My players fought him, ripped him apart, basically ripped the dead flesh from the grafted flesh as he burned a 9th level spell to wish himself to become a Draco Lich. Now, here's the repercussions from this. They've talked to the Lich himself, which was a brother to my Paladin. The Paladin looked at him, used the vocal components of, again, their wish to basically stop the guy, break everything down, and stop him from here. But they found letters, repercussions, things that keep moving forward for other players. Finding out 2 players are not married, but siblings by blood. And watching that, how where the Siege Engine comes in, he's building it to break the walls of the Fey realm with the current realm that they're in. From here, the story's growing, but again, don't be afraid to create a character, forget about them, and then reintroduce them with a plot twist at the end of the day, and make them grotesque. Sometimes, if everyone's looked at the monster manual and seen what a Lich looks like, it's a 9th level wizard with necrotic fingers. I had them fight him originally before Graft and then after Graft. And not setting fear, but tying backstories is always a big thing for everyone. This was a major arc, and there's many bosses that my players are going to fight, but they may not truly find their final end all be all. They may find their end all be all maybe in this one story arc, in this one thread that they may or may not find. It's the journey, not the destination at the end of the day for most people. And to be honest with you, I'm still writing their story, and we're still going on 1 year now, I think. So they're working hard.
I love, I'm going to piggyback on something really quick where you said, don't be afraid to forget about like villains and stuff like that. So I tend to play NPCs, which are characters that I wish I could play forever DM. So I have all these concepts of characters that I want to play. And so I'll throw them out there. And what I find is always enjoyable is when the players latch onto one and then they think that's the big bad guy at the end. I'm like, oh, right. I find that the players tend to make more drama than I intend or have more fear than I intend. And that always works. And I mean, that always works in our favor because sometimes the players come up with a better idea than we had. At least that happens with me. And it's always exciting to see how they twist what I had in mind.
Yeah, I wanted to piggyback off of that too. Talking about, you have a BBEG planned and you are afraid your players will never get to it because your games maybe end early and you never get there. What just had said about going ahead and introducing them, you can totally do that. If they're level 5 and you have a level 20 boss in mind that you just are afraid you're never going to use, go ahead and throw the bad guy at them. Just wait until narratively there's a moment where you can back out. It's still high stakes for them. Maybe 1 or 2 of them's down. Don't do a TPK. But then think ahead and have a reason plan for why the BBEG can bamf out now, or leave, or all of a sudden the BBEG leaves, summons a monster and now he can, or he, she, whoever can leave to do their business. But at least then you've introduced the BBEG and you've been able to use it a little bit. And then you've also made it a little, again, I like to make things personal because now they've got a vendetta and they want to go find the BBEG. So don't be afraid to throw the BBEG out early.
Love that. Love that. All right. So I know the biggest thing with these panels, the things that I enjoy the most, is when we get questions from you guys. So before I do that, though, is there anything either of you two want to talk about specifically towards character design that you tend to deal with? I know when I'm creating my own characters, I always based around the theme. I don't know how many Warforged paladins I've made with the idea of it being like that ultimate protector. Fortress and Citadel are the two names that I really love for Warforged paladin. Doesn't that sound like solid? Like just give them a tower shield. I wish tower shields were as good as they were at third. Gosh, give me that +4 armor. Yes, give it to me. I know I'm going to sink to the bottom of the ocean, but I will take all the armor. What's dexterity? It's a tough stat for me. But what is it that what do you draw on for your, like, what sort of inspirations do you draw on for your own characters? Because we as DMs sometimes don't get the chance to often do that. Oh, we're going to do us first, and then we'll go to you guys. You guys are important, but we're going to jump to you too. Your Dragonborn's done, by the way, and it's gorgeous. But I'm really happy with how it turned out. Downstairs in Artist Alley, I'm doing D&D character portraits, in case people are interested. They're watercolors, they're $40. Anyway, there's my plug. I need to plug myself more. I'm bad about it. I'm like, whatever. All right, go to you first. You're good?
I will go ahead and also plug him because yesterday, if you missed his panel yesterday, he was able to like draw a character while he was doing the panel, which was, I mean, to me, I've never done this. My first one. So I couldn't imagine trying to multitask and focus on you guys. So yes, check them out. They were great. My own character, my own inspirations. Right now for Dungeon Studios, we're filming a live game and I decided to create a character. Again, going back to like my Asian roots, I'm going to tell you a little story real quick. I'm going to make it quick. But my grandma, who had come from the Philippines, did not understand a lot of like modern medicine when I was growing up. And so, do you guys remember, I don't know how old anybody is here, but console TVs that sat on the ground, right? These big giant boxes. And I'm running around in a circle and I trip and I hit my head on the TV. I have a big gash and I'm bleeding. And my grandma, who barely speaks English at the moment, she basically took me to another room and started bandaging my head with Scotch tape. And I'm trying to explain to her about Band-Aids, but she's not understanding me. So I basically sat with Scotch tape around my head until my parents came to get me. And then I explained to them what happened and I went to the hospital and got stitches. And so that, for some reason, really stuck with me. And I wanted to create a druid who was kind of like a swamp witch doctor vibe with like really unconventional healing methods or methods of casting spells that... Right, yeah, just slap some seaweed on it. You're fine. You know, I'm going to stick a good berry up your nose and stick my finger in your ear and all's healed. So that's the inspiration that I take from my character. I look at, there are weird people in your life. Trust me, we're here. We're at a con. There's weird people in your life. Look at them for inspiration because you will have the most fun trying to eke out like how you can role play that as a druid, as a paladin, as whatever. So that's where I get my inspiration.
I love that. I love that in your grandma.
So one thing I started when I started my group, nobody told me what they wanted to play until we got to the table at session 0. Turned out I had 4 druids, a cleric, and actually no, that's how it started. Was 4 druids and a cleric that grew to 5 druids, 1 cleric, 1 ranger, and 1 lovely paladin paladin and a level 4 fighter, thanks to the deck of many things. Character-wise, I'm looking at everyone here who's an amazing cosplay. My day-to-day life is literally medicine and orthopedics. I literally sit with my brain for most of the time, and I just think, I'm like, what would be a cool idea? And I'll open up Wikidot, or I'll be like, just Google search different dragons. What can dragons be? Because I know dragonborns are hard to play around. Fizbin's. Open Fizbin's book and learn about the gemstone dragons, because I was just introduced to that one. Hi, Manila. That's our lovely paladin down in the corner over there. she came up with the idea of an amethyst dragonborn fighter. Amazing idea. I was like, that there are those exist, and they're like, yeah. Open every book, open everything, every subclass. Something will resonate with you. Or I have my other player who was like, I like this character from this book. Let's homebrew, and I'm like, done. And they've been my favorite running character since. It's like unicorn-esque legs, horn, but human elfish features. At the end of the day, their proper name in the book is called Lenari. I'm probably going to come up with a name when we make the source book later down the line. But overall, they get like a charge. They get like run 20 feet. You can do 1d6 piercing damage and everything else in case, for the horn attacks and everything else. They are less seen. They're more, you just work with your players, talk to your players. It's not just your character creation. You can bounce a lot of things off people's backstories. And don't be afraid. I also workshopped a owl bear to an elfish. The smallest owl. My recent druid just has like, I really want something cute. I'm like, oh, what's their favorite owl? And they showed me the tiniest recorded owl. And I was like, cool, we're going to workshop that into an owl bear. Facial features, everything, and size. They're not going to grow bigger than, they're probably going to be the size of a regular cub. So they're going to be tiny forever. Sorry, spoilers, but with love and everything else, character design, but also look at the real world. Look at nature. Nature is a big flowing change. Druids might not even need to be nature-esque. Look at the ocean. The ocean's a gorgeous thing. There's the sea elves. There is Yuan-Ti, which are the snake people. There's a lot of characters and creatures. I would also like to plug Volos. Looking into Volos, you can literally take any monster and turn them into a player. Not all kobolds are evil and conniving. They can have a burning man of things. That's what's going on in my campaign currently. Because they only live 6 years. What do? They can reconvene, basically reproduce, and then they die. Let's think of it, a whole migration system. Giants. I had a Maelstrom elemental stuffed into a warhorse body. He finally, he was in my NPC. That was their first tank, right next to a half white green dragonborn, who I thought was kobold. Funny enough. And overall, have fun with your characters. Have a good time. And if you get the itch at like 1 a.m., like, I have an idea. Run it. Write it down. Have a notepad next to your bed, stand and write it down. If you have beyond, just start throwing it together, roll stats later. But at the end of the day, character creation is your imagination. The world is your influence at the end of the day.
Sure.
There's some seats down here too for you.
Yeah,
folks.
guys, please, unless you like standing, there's still some chairs at the front. Make a friend. Make a friend.
Make friends. Yeah.
What's that? Fair. That's
Okay.
all right. Okay, we're gonna open up to questions. Any questions? Yes, go for it.
Oh gosh.
10? 10 years?
8 years.
8.
2 years.
So, what do we do with the experience? What would you say is 5% of the year?
Oh, the improvising versus planning question. Yes. Because it changes every session, right? So I find that I am forced to improvise probably 85%, at least. At least. And I'm nodding.
Like, bro, you're saying almost strict. Like, you like less followers. So, like, some people, like,
Yeah. Yeah, I wish every game was like Critical Role, where, yeah, Critical Role. I already made my opinion is known yesterday. I'm not going to do it again. Because I don't want to offend anybody. I wish my players did exactly what I wanted to, but they can't. And that's the best part, right? I work with bullet points typically when I'm planning out my games, like key things I hope to hit on, and then I spend probably more time writing or planning out NPCs that they're going to encounter along the way. They're going to have bits of information. And then when I do information things, I usually do a vignette where I'm like, oh, come across this guy. You guys are talking for a little bit. They ask a few questions. And then if they hit on the right thing, then I'll be like, and then he says this. And then I'll just start doing my little scripted thing that I have. And then be open for them after. Then there's the improv after that, right? Anybody want to piggyback on that? Or add?
Thank you. Okay, so in my experience, what I've learned is I have to plan more when it's like the beginning of a campaign, because whether it's the same players and I know my players, they have new characters and I don't know how they're going to use those characters. For example, I have a friend of mine who's playing a rogue who I had no idea would pickpocket like 5 different people every session. So I have to figure out what the heck is in everybody's pockets all the time. Nothing that I was necessarily prepared for, but after the first session, you're darn tootin', I have a list of things in everybody's pockets all the time. Nobody has pockets. That's the rule. But in the beginning of a campaign, it's more about me learning what do I need to prepare for because my players are doing this. And after, I would say, 5 to 10 sessions, and maybe that's just me, it could be different for everybody, but by 5 to 10 sessions, I've now learned, okay, this guy likes to do this girl likes to do this, I know I need to have pockets and stuff in pockets, and okay. And so then I don't have to prep any of that anymore. I've got that ready for whenever they pull that stuff on me. And then it becomes more improv and less preparation. So that's been my experience.
So what I do with my players, I break them down to character arcs. Makes everyone has a specific time. I will write like 14 pages of handwritten notes. Gets condensed down to 4, typed out. Because I read over my notes again. I'm like, no. Again, like Fuzzy said, condense points. I write down certain dialogues and then I give that to my players afterwards as my session notes. As I pre-write, and then anything improv from there, I follow up with my note takers from there. But having travel is a big improv thing. Hence why I put railroads in my game. Get them moving, and then you can always, you want to literally derail them? Here's the derailer, and surround them. Give them the cool option. My druids, or moon druids, they turned into the Aztec god, snake god, and flew out of harm's way, getting away from being surrounded. Which, again, you gotta give them cool, but again, improv is like a loving thing, but it also, you want some little bit of structure. You want like, here's what I want to do. Will you get there? Maybe. Will you? Maybe not. At the end of the day, how can you improv back to the point?
Yeah. Yes.
You mentioned character. Were you referring to stuff that built these specifically, or are you talking about character arcs that one plan or set up with the player? Yes.
I usually will set up specific NPCs that will end up either starting character arc for my players, or be major plot points, or turn out to be a long lost brother who was banished from the worlds of beyond, and that turned out to be, and then turned into a lich just to bring back your parents. Looking at you, my paladin. Yeah, and then major things that have relevancy that, give them direction. Like I had a player who was having a hard time missing sessions, so I was like, okay, your main plot point is this town. Now I'm going to make this plot here to get the other ones to you. And then boom. Art buzz.
Right here.
When it comes to like item and work and there's like say like further any kind of specifically that they want to go for like soul like sword or better control.
So the question was, when you have characters who are wanting to achieve some sort of goal, like whether it's a magic item or some magic sword or right anything like that, how do you get them to that point, or how do you build that?
This word is
Oh, controlling it.
Yeah.
Tell them no.
I have something for that. Okay, so I hope this answers your question. So my husband plays a gunslinger in my campaign, and he had told me from the beginning he wanted some kind of equipment that he could work on over time in the campaign so that it would kind of start out as like a basic equipment item, but by the end would be maybe highly magical, depending on how much he's worked on it or paid someone to work on it or what have you. And so I ended up creating like this gunslinger vest. And then I wrote like tiers, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, tier 4. Here's how much money needs to be paid into the materials to work on this. Here's how much time you need to spend, 40 hours of your time plus 250 gold, 60 hours of your time plus, now you need like 500 gold or whatever. And each tier he now gets I can't remember, what is it, like quick reloading or the rapid reload, I can't remember what it's called. Anyway, all those things I built in and homebrewed it so that it wouldn't be too overpowered. But I did also give him the caveat, because again, I homebrewed it, so you never know. I said, if at any point I feel like this is too OP, I might dial it back. And he said, that's okay. So as long as you communicate with your players and say, I'm giving this to you because you want it. I'm trying to make it as balanced as I can, but if I think that it's maybe not as balanced as, let's say, everyone else around here and there's feelings at the table, I'm going to dial it back. So that's what I do.
Right here.
This is gonna sound like I'm asking for me. I am genuinely asking for a friend. Is it possible to play, like, for a player to be a plant? And would you find that entertaining as the GM?
yes.
Yeah. So I've had that situation happen where it's like you have some sort of information that I've had it happen where someone's like, "Can I bring a friend to play?" And it's like, sure. Kind of talk to that, like if you meet the person, and you kind of plan out like they might know some information too that helps the story along. It does work. It totally works. It also gives them a chance to almost be like an NPC, but not an NPC. It could also be used as a tool for the BBE, right? The big bad end game.
Can I ask, do you mean an awakened plant or just like a plant?
No, you need like they're good point. You need like organic, like a
We're all in the same.
like a ficus.
Yeah.
We're in the same campaign, so wanted to play the sentient plant.
Oh, you literally made like a literal plant.
Okay. All right.
Do what you want as long as it's fun. Simple as that works, right? Okay, yeah. As long as everybody's on board, you're good. You silly goose. Swamp, yeah, start it. All right, right here, and then you with your yeah. Sorry.
So, your plot points you have before, and the improv versus precision in terms of happening and where the party is going to go. How would you keep track of an event that you want to put in, but that doesn't get realized? Like, would you have a path that's like, they talked about the plot, but did not, and then see where it goes, and then keep track of that, where improv versus the balance, improv versus pressure.
Can I ask a clarifying question?
Yes.
Do you mean like you have a major event that you're trying to lead your party to so that they can see it or be a part of it or witness it, but for some reason they go whoop, and somewhere else and
That's true.
okay, is that okay?
It's not that kind of thing. We have plot points that go, oh, they missed it, but they don't. How can I bring it back into the fold?
Like they missed everybody missed the perception check.
Failing upwards. Meaning that not a bad roll can never lead to, oh, shoot, I literally failed perception, failed acrobatics. I tripped and fell, knocked over this bookcase. What's in the bookcase? Oh, notes, letters. I leave breadcrumbs for my players, and my players are really like vacuum hungry. I love you all. You take the bait super hard. When I say bait, I mean like your major plot points and everything else. I feel like my players have a plan in place. I've laid out everything going on. Rude. There it is. They'll adjust shortly. Mostly I leave out a lot of breadcrumbs and everything else, a little bit of a railway system and everything. And leave out there's a grove of forest over here that you can see in the distance, and then you're suddenly surrounded. Watching my druids finally learn that hitting 7 and being able to fly, that's like showing. I want to show off my players. I want to feel that awesomeness that, you've achieved this. Get there. But overall, going back to it, I have a tendency to, when I'm in the character arc, that's the main focus for them. And I love that they take their turns and know when they're in the main thing, or they have what's prevalent right now versus what can be waited. Because I also give time frames. For example, I gave them for that siege engine that's breaking to the Fade Wild. I gave them, this is roughly going to be about 3 months. We're currently right now, where you read the letter that's been backdated, you have about 2 months till time, versus something that's happening right now in this major city, where they want to destroy the main central city that they're trying to take down. I see their motivations, and giving them time frames can make everything a little, concise. Urgent, the sense of urgency. There it is.
Right here. Yes. You gotta yell at the music.
Wait, yeah.
Sorry, you have to talk louder because the awful music is really loud.
So I sign.
Congratulations.
And to how can you reach that your big bad at the end isn't weak, or they finish off with that not too strong, or it's maybe pretty.
Have fun. Don't stress it too much. People are happy that you're running a game. The more you stress about it, the less fun it's going to be for you. The fact that you're running a game, people are grateful already. I see so much nodding happening. Don't worry yourself. Do whatever planning you think you need. Is it a pre-done campaign, or is it your own one shot? You're so cool. Even if it was a scripted thing, you're cool too. Don't get me wrong. But I love that you're putting yourself out there with your creativity and your story for your players. Because it's yours. Do what you want. That's the big thing. And it's your story. And because you're the only one that knows it, if you screw up, your players won't know. Right? And that's the beautiful thing too with the screen. If you screw up, your players don't know. Take advantage of that screen, put whatever notes you need, character bios, whatever, use everything you can. Whether you're doing your notes on like an iPad or paper and pencil. I paper and pencil all my notes for my game because I like fling through the pages because it makes me feel like some crazy wizard going through paperwork. And then because I wasn't brought up digital with my stuff. I'm a 83, it's my birth year. So the pen and paper is so much more intimate to me. And holding my character sheet, the screen doesn't have a soul for me when I'm playing. And the clicking to roll on the screen, I hate that so much. Real dice. There's also vendors downstairs that sell dice. Clover sells dice. She's amazing. I don't know any of the other. Are there any other dice vendors? There's a few more. I don't know them, but I know Clover and her product's really freaking cool. Yeah. Be you. Does anyone piggyback, or is that?
No, I do. I just
You
had to
do, go
real
for
quick. Super quick, because I've heard this question a lot, and I have what I feel like is the answer that I tell tons of people. I have methods where I scale up or scale down my encounter on the fly, is what I call it. So in the middle of the encounter, if you think you set up this bad guy and they're just mopping the floor with him, and it's going to be over real quick, okay? Before you do this session, look at the environment that they're going to be in and add like an environmental hazard, like a layer action, if you will. If they're fighting near a volcano, lava is going to start happening during the battle, and it makes them have to move around and think more and possibly take fire damage. If you're in a snowy area, it's an avalanche. If you are in a jungle, it's a swamp. Think about the environment and try to throw that at your players to make things more difficult for them on the fly. Okay, you don't have to introduce it in the beginning. Just wait and see how are things going, and oh man, I need to add some challenges in here. Then think of some things that you can add as like a layer action. Okay, if you need to scale down the encounter on the fly, make sure you have a couple of ways, again, to make the BBEG or the bad guy leave. It's an encounter, and it's a one shot, so you don't necessarily want him to leave. But think about the environmental hazards and think about how you can maybe have lava be directed at the bad guy all of a sudden, and like, oh no, the bad guy plus maybe two of the players get hit, but the bad guy gets hit too. So the bad guy takes damage too. There could be a running of the bulls that's happening all of a sudden, and everybody's getting stampeded, but they're mostly hitting the BBEG. So there's ways, think about, ways that you can add those things if you need them on the fly.
Love it. All right here.
So I have a question. So I've been DMing since like 1989.
Nice.
This game is about 15 years long. So
Older than some of the people in the room.
So what I've noticed, so that you kind of hit on this, is D&D is doing a trend for orcs no longer bad guys, goblins no longer bad guys, bad guys. Now I have my older who that's set in stone, and I have new. So where do you guys, as newish news who modern DMs kind of fall into keeping it within canon? If you start having every football does whatever they do, then there's no bad guys, but you can't break that stereotype like you're talking about. Okay.
That's where communication with your players is going to come in. Especially if it's the game continuing. Is that game still going to continue? Oh, the canon's all up to you. Yeah. I don't like kids. I even rename all the gods because I don't like them. Yeah.
I guess it depends on. Oh, sorry.
Are you homebrewing, or are you using the game modules? Because obviously whatever's in there is canon. Right. Yeah. So here's the thing. Yeah, like you said, communication with your players. If there's something that you want to kind of break the code and you don't want all kobolds to be evil, well then make sure that they encounter there's bad kobolds, but there's also good kobolds. Make sure they're seeing both sides, and make sure if there's conflict, then you can present both sides equally, so that it's maybe when they meet the bad kobolds, they're like, yeah, the good kobolds are taking our turf and da-da-da-da-da. And you're like, yeah, those are like the good kobolds. But then they meet a good kobold, and all of a sudden you hear their side, and you're like, it's got a good point too. Make it so that it's equal, so that they have to be in that gray area of no one's good, no one's bad.
I think that's more important, is that no one's good, no one's bad. That way it's not necessarily everybody's, these aren't evil, but they're not good either. All right, yellow vest. You're going to have to yell. You feel like you're always doing stuff wrong, and rules wise and stuff? There's no shame in looking stuff up. I look stuff up all the time. If we had a fight right now where someone's like, I'm going to grapple this guy and then I want to throw him, I have to look stuff up. Something like, is that a strength check or an athletics check? Is it an attack? Oh wait, I don't know. The big thing is going to be consistency. So if you come across a rule that you're you guys don't like, even, as long as the group talks about communication, it's the big thing. It's all relationships are built on it, or should be. Talk with your group. There's nothing wrong with looking at. That's what the books are for. Look at the rules if you need to look at the rules. I want to jump on that. Yeah, go.
Yeah, so I also have a lot of like rules lawyers at my table too. So I get the whole like, oh, I'm not going to remember every single rule. I don't know a DM that remembers every single rule, no matter how long they've been doing it. And so you're going to be challenged, and you're going to have to, I don't want to say get used to it. That sounds harsh, but just know that when you guys are playing the game, if a rule gets missed, a rule gets missed. If you think, oh, I wonder if I missed that, check on it, and then later, next session, go, hey, that thing that happened, guys, I'm going to let that one go because I didn't catch that. However, moving forward, now this, right? And you may still forget about it, or even them. And the other thing I wanted to say before I forget is your players, you should help your players, tell them to be responsible for looking up rules for their own things, for their attacks, for their spells, for their whatever, so that they're helping you look things up as well. And I had another point, but I lost it. So maybe come back to me later, and I'm gonna remember what the other point was.
Right. Yeah, go.
Hi. So hello. My yes. Every 5 or 6 it's like a lot of things. Yeah. Most recently, I play this where it's more like a big area where I kind of make my players like not above the high power, they're powerful enough to kind of be able to homebrew like a specific weapon system that kind of unique to that like a pro community. But my main question is that going into my next friend's like session, given that I already made a house, it basically create characters that feel not forced but beneficial to the story, where they would make them already powerful characters kind of humbled a little bit, where they feel as if there's still so much to look forward to in this world that they have, still be on their guard, but not forced enough where it's like, oh, I'm just gonna drop like 1,000 damage attacks, but if you miss it, just have well, that's it. Like something like that makes it more natural.
I just want to clarify your question. Are you saying that your players are creating characters that are all powerful and you want to know how to humble them?
Oh, NPCs.
Okay. Okay, I have to think about that one for a second.
First, you get a hill giant. You make him a blacksmith.
You wanted to humble the players and everything else. As we brought up, I think prior to this, like you bring up a big, boisterous monster and everything else, but to have them leave or add environmental things that they look at their strengths, look at their weaknesses. Sometimes to humble them the most is they're not always powerful in every single regard. Find their weaknesses, kind of exploit them, but don't outright kill them, I would say. Exploit their weaknesses. Are they weak in perception? Are they weak in dexterity? Are they super strong but don't have much brain cells? Me. Also losing 2 int on a magical homebrew item. Trust me, I know my paladin's not the brightest, but he is okay. Yeah. Play off of their weaknesses, because there is strength in their certain numbers and skills, but they won't be strong in certain other aspects. If they're good at fighting, but they're terrible at social cues or terrible in environmental like items. I can't jump that high. I'm a dwarf, about a foot. And play against their weaknesses to humble them, to like maybe grow from that. Knowing that in superhero movies, you've seen they get humbled halfway through, and then like realize I was looking at it the wrong perspective. Now that I've been humbled, I can take it on from this way. Again, I know overpowering can get hard to balance, but sometimes throwing stuff at their weaknesses or attacking at their weaknesses to make them realize, oh, that's going on, might be an idea.
Don't forget you're also working with them to tell the story. So like it's not you against them is a big thing. Cause like I keep saying humbling the characters. Don't forget that it's whatever tells the narrative, keeps the fun, keeps it in the setting and the theme. If they're super overpowered, throw something huge at them. Kaiju, throw kaiju at them, like freaking awesome. But don't forget it's a narrative that you're building, and if you escalate the character's power level super early, it, in my experience, it then forces you to do a lot more work that's unnecessary. I wish characters stayed at level 2 forever because it's just such a fun, they're still squishy, and stuff can still kill you. The other thing is scale the world with them as they go. So that if they're level 12, then the common villager is level 12. Like, mortality is a very interesting thing in the game because it's not a thing, right? Characters can always come back. Don't forget you're with them. It's fun. And again, communicate. Like, since you guys are switching off DMing every 5 sessions, make sure you talk with the next DM and you say, I have this plan. Does this screw with what you might have? Because then that way you guys are building a narrative together instead of just, it's my time, I'm going to do this. And everybody's going to be super big bad. And then the next guy's like, you just stuck me with this problem. Were you going to say that?
No.
Oh, but it's like, I would personally, if I was doing that with somebody, I've done the alternating DM thing. It's awesome. It works. It can be. But I'm like, you have light weapons? You got what from the last session? Okay. Now I got to go back to the drawing board and I got to plan things out more. And then it becomes a chore. And again, like I said earlier, if it becomes work, it's not fun. You should enjoy what you're doing. I think Amber had something to add.
Yeah, so I am one of the DMs where I did this to myself. Power creep, basically. I decided to create a highly magical world, and magic items are just everywhere. Wow, did I just hurt myself because we've been playing this campaign for 5 years, still going. And yeah, so now I'm having to throw things at my characters, and they're all homebrew because I'm like, what am I going to do? This guy, they just wiped that guy off the floor. So what I do now is there is a table you can Google. It's called damage by severity level or something. Severity level. Anyway, it's something to that effect. You'll find it. And it's a quick, if your players are levels 1 through 10 and you have 4 to 5 players, then you can do 4d10 damage for a setback, 8d10 damage for, this is a tough one, and then 10d10 damage for deadly. And there's this whole table, right? So now I don't even look at the monster manual. When I throw monsters at them, I am just coming up with something in my head and I'm describing the attack. It's a tail attack, it's a bite attack or whatever. I'm describing what it looks like and then I just roll. If I want it to be a hard encounter and per the table, it's going to be 8d10 damage. And they don't know the difference. They don't know that I'm not looking at the monster manual. I'm just giving them a really hard encounter and they're getting these really tough hits. And what I'll do, if it's an important fight and I really want them to feel it, I will, again, I'm not looking at HP. I don't even care how much HP my bad guy has. I'm waiting for the narrative moment when maybe one of them is down. When all of a sudden I can see my players going, oh crap, what's happening? And then I back it off and I let them kill the bad guy. So that's how I handle it because I messed it up for myself.
Yes.
I was wondering if you have any advice for people that are just starting out, they've created their character, but haven't fully fleshed them out.
You mean the backstory or just?
Also, I've designed the characters, but I don't really know what I'm doing.
Sometimes so designing the character, have you rolled the stats or anything like that for it? Or choosing class and race?
Yeah, I've chosen class. I did that on D&D Beyond.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that's a good option.
Yes, it is. It's a great option. Yeah.
But yeah, that's really like it guided me through setting up the character sheet, but I don't know what some of the stuff means. Is this a question?
This is totally an awesome question. So it's about creating a character and maybe you just don't know what everything means and what you're not what you're doing, but how to go forward with it. Also with backstories. So I'm going to say something that might be controversial. You don't always need a super rich backstory for your character. Let the game just develop that for you. My favorite character I ever played was a dwarf fighter. Had no backstory. He became a king. Hey, what? Makes no sense. Actually became a demigod after that. But anyway, you don't need overcomplicated backstories. You can just jump in. Just jump in. Find some people that are going to help coach you with what's going on. A good DM will have kitty gloves on and help you along the way. And there's with D&D Beyond, if you don't know what the thing means, you can usually click on it and it'll take you to a thing that describes what it is. And then it'll do that with spells. It'll do it with certain things like shaken effect and stuff like that. And it's pretty cool. The statuses and conditions. Yeah, it's D&D Beyond's a great way to go with starting your character. Who is not asked a point right here? Go for it. Sorry, did you want to add more to that? I'm so sorry.
Laughter, that's fine. I just wanted to say real quick. Yes, okay, I'll make it real quick. If you're struggling with trying to find like who you are as this character, which is kind of what I got the feeling of, and also developing backstory. I've done this for myself where I go Google like getting to know you questions. And it's not like, what's your favorite food? What's this and that, which could also help to think in your character's brain and go, what's my character's favorite food? What's my character's favorite season? Like, that's all easy stuff. I'm talking about like morally gray questions. Look for morally gray questions and like, decide if you happen to leave a magic shop and something was accidentally in your pocket and you accidentally stole, you didn't intend to, how would your character feel about that? That's a morally gray situation that you can dig into and figure out like, what is the character like? What is my character about? And then that can kind of help you define that a little bit more if that's what you were looking for.
Thank you. I'm gonna write that down.
UCSB.
Running the game. How do you handle and how do you hint to your players the weaknesses of their enemies? Like,
how do you convey the weaknesses of the enemies?
Yeah.
Well, either through combat or storytelling, right? I mean, like if the character's walking in with a limp, you might exploit that. Unless it was a red herring. He has legs made of steel. I don't know.
Are you talking about in combat?
In combat or story. So like story would be for a recurring big bad. How would you want to draw hits or players to take?
Oh yeah, like if they do a certain attack, like fire attack, it's susceptible. Oh gosh, I know how to say the word. Susceptible. There we go. So like fire attacks, and then someone does a firebolt, and you're like, oh wow, that seems to have been more effective than it would normally. Descriptions is going to help you. I think mostly. I don't want to add on that because we have like 8 minutes. That was pretty great.
Susceptibility and describing when players are like, how do they look? How do they look? And you get higher perception, you can see some form of, again, sometimes gonna feel upward. You're like, my perception, I didn't notice, but again, he stubbed his toe walking in here. Maybe exploit that or something that you feel like your players will catch on through description, hopefully. Again, believe me, my players are hungry, they will find anything, because I am running their first ever game, minus my paladin right there, who has been running games forever.
Right,
I've pretty much never played D&D, but my question is like, introducing the final boss, like what are the things that you look for? Or is it just like you keep going and sounds like it has to?
When do you introduce the final boss?
Yeah, like as you've been doing it for a while. When do you decide when it's time to
It's very dependent on how you want to DM or how your DM is. it could be a read of the room of this guy is monstrous. He is been controlling everything, this whole city, this whole keep, everything else. It's not necessarily a dragon. It's not necessarily a lich. It could be just a half-orc pirate king who just rolled into town and just messed your stuff up because you went and decided to murder your brother. Well, not my character. This has happened in my game. And his name is Blow, and he is scary, let me tell you. But it's also not just that, but he has a crew of like a wereshark, some form of tiefling. And it's a whole slew of pirate crew that you may have to fight later. I'm like, when is it good? It varies. If it's a one shot, maybe halfway through your one shot as an introduction, but introduction to fight, that's a different story. It's kind of like a vibe feeling. It's literally the literal vibe check.
Sometimes you have it ready to go, and then the party goes a different way.
What I do is just like they said, it's a vibe check, but what it is in the first several sessions, I can tell if I throw something at my players and they're like, WTF, and I can tell that I don't have their trust yet, that it's all going to be okay, then I wait. Once I have their trust, I am an evil DM when I say it out like this. Once I have their trust, and I've done something in a game where I'm like, oh, they didn't give me the WTF because they know whatever this situation is will resolve itself, maybe. Anyway, I'm not going to get into the details. Once I know I have their trust, that's when I introduce the bad guy.
All right, we got one more. Go for it.
Names. How do you come up with original names?
How do you come up with original names? I look at like baby name things, and I'll be like, well, this name means courage. Okay, we'll use this. I use a lot of things like what's the Latin word for courage, and I'll find that, and then I'll tweak it. And then sometimes you just add nouns and things together. Bright sun, evermoon, Copperfield. Hey, it's a good one. You got any tips or tricks?
I also have a baby name book. But here's the thing I've learned, at least through my years with D&D, is that most people do kind of stress about the name. They want the perfect name that fits the vibe of their character. And 9 times out of 10, once you get through into a couple sessions, they now have a nickname. And they're no longer going by their name or, I feel like there's a lot of emphasis put on name when it doesn't necessarily have to be. I do understand the feeling, though. I want to name my character something really cool. But there's many sources. You can get online name generators and baby name books definitely help.
All right. So with that, I'm gonna wrap up the panel. Thank you all for coming today. By the way, thank you. So I'm gonna let everybody plug themselves really quick before we go. Again, I'm Scott Fuzzy Joseph. You can find all my social medias at Fuzzy Joseph. I'm down in Artist Alley at AA 142. I'm over near where the autographs are happening. Again, I'm painting character portraits all weekend. Amber.
Yes. Hi. Okay, so I already mentioned I'm a chief project director at Dungeon Studios, so you can find them on social medias. I also am a content creator. I have my own channel. I'm pretty much on all the socials as Purty Nerdy. So if you want to search that out, I am definitely doing an Instagram blitz today on everything that's happening to commemorate this because I can't believe I'm here. Anyway, also, before everybody leaves, I want to do like a little turnaround and take a picture with everyone, so don't leave just yet.
Well, as you met me, I'm Justin. Me and my partner, Izzy Strange, runs the 18 Up Cabaret Show. I will be hanging around. For those who are not 18 Up, I basically wander a lot. I hang out at this guy's booth because we've been table mates for like ever. However long I've been showing up since it's only been a couple of years, but it still feels like forever. But still table mate, amazing. I throw money at him, and he's painted and made everything character-wise. At the end of the day, if you have questions, I can I will stand around and give my handle for Discord if you want to reach out to me personally. I don't have any proper handles just yet, whether it's Twitter, Instagram, Extra. I will be coming up with that. I'm just going to say I'm your local Sacramento DM. So other than that, thank you everyone. Thank you, Joseph, for having me as well. I will be bothering you in like 10 minutes.
All right, go do your picture.
Yes, okay, everybody.
Yeah, if you guys want to get in here too, everyone.
Okay.